Hey, if you're going to make pocket knives, the first thing you have to have is a real bad case of the want-tos. Because if you don't really want to do it, you're going to give up before you get on top of it.
W.R. Case & Sons and Tony Bose, perfectly unmatched. Knife manufacturers have tried to close the gap between their mass-produced factory-made knives with those of custom makers, considered by many to be at the leading edge of the knife industry. The 1990s saw several major manufacturers partnering with custom makers to try to develop better quality knives for the serious knife enthusiast. While many of these relationships did much to promote specialized use knife designs, little was done to bring about any real advances for fans of traditional pocket folders. Then in 1998, a chance meeting at the Atlanta Blade Show between representatives of W.R. Case & Sons Cutlery Company and a popular custom knife maker from Indiana named Tony Bose would result in a partnership that would raise the bar for all involved. With more than 100 years of manufacturing to its name, W.R. Case & Sons had become one of the most recognized icons in American industry. In that time, the company had produced millions of multi-bladed pocket knives while surviving the Great Depression, 2 world wars, and several ownership changes. Case knives were even carried with astronaut Neil Armstrong on his maiden voyage to the moon. Several American presidents proudly called themselves case knife owners, including Dwight D. Eisenhower, whose own autograph still appears on a special case penknife named just for him. Tony Bose had been handcrafting traditional pocket knives for friends with special requests, operating out of a small workshop in his home near Terre Haute, Indiana. As Tony continued to hone his craft, his popularity grew. He won his first Blade Show award in 1995, just 5 years after he'd become a full-time custom knife maker. By 1999, demand for Tony's knives had grown internationally. New customers would have to wait years for a chance to purchase one of his distinctive creations. So what did this custom knife maker from Indiana have in common with one of the most storied brands in American pocket knife manufacturing? It was a shared commitment to making knives of the finest possible quality and ensuring a future in traditional folding pocket knives for generations to come.
Well, just let me say, if there's any way to screw up a pocket knife, I've done it and figured out how to fix it. It's, you know, you can't go to school for pocket knives. The best engineer in the world don't have any experience in pocket knives. It's such a specialty field. So if I can do anything to make case better or to keep the traditional knives going, that's what I want to do. I'm tickled to death to do it.
The knives that we're making, the Tony Bose collaborations in particular, are, I mean, they're as close to a custom knife as you can get from a factory, and that hasn't gone unnoticed with our collectors. I mean, they can see it not only in the quality of those knives, but in the other designs that we release as well.
Those ideals are at the very heart of their unmatched relationship. Together, Case and Tony Bose have spent the past 9 years developing over a dozen hard-to-find patterns. The first was a unique slimline trapper in 1999, followed by other vintage-style limited editions in subsequent years. In addition, 3 other Case Bose designs have found their way into the pages of Case's annual product guides: the 3-bladed sow belly, the saddle horn, and the all-new sway-back jack.
We're blessed with a 118-year history of knife making, and sometimes introducing new products for us, it's really about finding an old pattern that we hadn't done or finding a new way to do something old, and Tony brings that to the mix. I mean, you know, the sow belly, for example, was the first Tony Bose pattern that we put in our standard catalog line back in 2001. And Case collectors had enjoyed the sow belly and asked for Case to come out with one for years. I mean, since it had been discontinued from the Case line in around 1930. So working with Tony Bose, it gave us the opportunity to bring a historic old pattern back in a new way.
Case is the epitome of traditional knives. I mean, they started back at the turn of the century, and they're the most collected pocket knife in the world. And they've made all the patterns in the past, and you know, when I was a kid, that's all I heard was the best knife was a Case knife. So I've tried to stay hardcore traditional and do the things that they've done in the past. And I tell people I don't design knives, I bring them back from the grave. Things that were done 100 years ago that you can't go down to the hardware store and buy now.
Like the cotton sampler the two produced in 2006. It was a pattern used by American cotton buyers around the turn of the 20th century to test the quality of a farmer's crop and determine a fair market price. Sometimes, though, Case and Bose set out to create something that's rarely, if ever, been produced in a factory setting before. Like the lockback whittler the two produced in 2005. It's a pattern Tony regards as one of the most challenging he's ever come across.
John Sullivan told me one time my job was to challenge him, and that's what I try to do.
Tony's really helped push us as knife makers at Case. I mean, we've worked with him on projects and certain knives, let's say like a lockback whittler that, 10 years ago, there's not a chance we would have even tried that sort of knife project here at Case. But with Tony's help and the expertise he's brought, we've grown together as knife makers, and now it's something that we know it's the type of knife we know we can make.
Case associates say Tony inspires them to try things they never thought possible, and Tony's obviously proud of these achievements.
Hey, when I first started talking to them, if I'd have mentioned 3-blade Stockman with crank blades, they'd have went into panic. Now they're making lockback whittlers and things that are really swing guard cokes, things that are really complicated. So I'm proud of what they've done. I think they've done a wonderful job of it. What are you doing here?
Buffing.
Buffing, okay. I got one that I bought in 1966.
Oh my goodness.
I still got it.
Oh, wow.
Still perfectly functional.
Really?
Yeah. I retired it a few years ago because I got to being afraid I was going to lose it. But the blades are about half wore out, but it still works. It's still perfectly functional.
Oh wow.
And then there's a lot. I give $6 and change for that, and I thought my wife was going to pass out.
Oh my God.
But I was only making $10 a day.
Oh my God.
And I told her I would always have it, and I still have it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
But the relationship between Case and Bose is not limited to just building knives together. To Case associates, Tony is one of them. And to Tony, Case associates are some of his closest friends.
Ever since I met Tony, it's been a great thing. I mean, since '98 clear till 2007, and beyond wherever we're going from there. I mean, he's a guy that you got a problem with something, you can call him. I mean, stories, Tony could tell you a million stories.
That's just neater than a speckled pup, isn't it? Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
How are you, Dick?
Nice.
Tony Bose. How long you been here?
43 years.
43 years. And that's great.
From the day I met him, in fact, I had the fortunate opportunity to tour Tony around the area the first time he ever came to Bradford. So I spent about 8 hours with him the first day. And he was very, very down to earth then. He's still very, very down to earth now.
How you doing?
Have you done anything today other than walk around with your hand in your pocket?
I've been shaking babies and kissing hands.
Okay, good.
How are you?
I kid around with Tony an awful lot, but I've also learned a tremendous amount from him.
What do I think about the factory? I think it's a gathering of some of the nicest people around. I haven't met anybody out there I didn't like, and they all treat me like an Olympic champion.
Thank you very much.
You guys wouldn't mind talking to my wife, would you?
Recently, I had the opportunity of going on an event, and I was traveling with one of our associates who idolizes Tony. I cannot tell you, all I heard on the way down was, Tony. Is Tony going to be there?
Tony's knowledge of older knife patterns and their place in American history make him a favorite personality at Case consumer events, trade shows, and get-togethers.
The enthusiasm is just amazing some of these people bring with them. They just love it. And I love them for loving it.
He's a good friend, and the collectors really enjoy him and love him. They admire him so much. And it doesn't matter whether it's the collectors out in the field or whether it's collectors here in-house. They have an admiration for Tony that just doesn't quit.
This true friendship and shared love of the trade are what make the relationship between Case and Tony Bose and their collaborations so special.
Scotty, you know how good your part was? You know how good your parts are? Mm-hmm. I took my spring and put that knife together with it, and it worked like boots on a rooster.
All right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In the end, the Case and Bose affiliation comes down to a relentless pursuit for the perfect traditional pocket knife, one that's as simple to use as it is useful, as interesting to look at as it is beautiful, and with just the right blades to make carrying it feel completely natural.
That thing fits right in your watch pocket. Just goes away. Don't even know it's there.
W.R. Case & Sons and Tony Bose. Unmatched friends making equally unmatched knives.
You want to make one of them?
That'd be a job, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't that be?
It'd be hard to find a piece of antler that big.